Howdy, folks. Before we get into today's episode, I have a short PSA. If you're listening to this show through any of my Living with a Genius accounts on iTunes, Facebook, Twitter, SoundCloud, etc., please note that over the next week or so I'll be separating the Artist's Almanac from my Living with a Genius content. So please subscribe to the Artist's Almanac separately on iTunes, Twitter, or wherever you get your podcasts. I plan on rolling out Living with a Genius again as soon as I get my feet under me, and it's taken longer than I thought it would. For those of you still waiting for my next interview, hang tight, and thanks for your patience and for your support. And now, here is the Artist's Almanac for March 13th, 2018. It's the anniversary of the Butler Act, signed today by the 64th Tennessee General Assembly in 1925. The Butler Act was a Tennessee law prohibiting public school teachers from denying the biblical account of mankind's origin. The author of the law, a Tennessee farmer named John Washington Butler, specifically intended that the law would prohibit the teaching of evolution, later saying, "No, I didn't know anything about evolution when I introduced it. I'd read in the papers that boys and girls were coming home from school and telling their fathers and mothers that the Bible was all nonsense." Butler decided the teaching of evolution was dangerous. The law also provided misdemeanor charges and fines for every instance of teaching the evolution of man in place of the biblical account, but was challenged later that year in a famous trial in Dayton, Tennessee, commonly called the Scopes Monkey Trial, which was highlighted by a raucous confrontation between prosecuting attorney and fundamentalist religious leader William Jennings Bryan and noted defense attorney and religious agnostic Clarence Darrow. The transcript can easily be found online, and I highly recommend giving it a read. The law stated that it shall be unlawful for any teacher in any of the universities, normals, and all other public schools of the state which are supported in whole or in part by the public school funds of the state to teach any theory that denies the story of the divine creation of man as taught in the Bible. It additionally outlined that an offending teacher would be guilty of a misdemeanor and fined between $100 and $500 for each offense. The law remained on the books until 1967, when teacher Gary L. Scott of Jacksboro, Tennessee, dismissed from teaching for violation of the act, sued for reinstatement, citing his First Amendment right to free speech. Although his termination was rescinded, Scott continued his fight with a class action lawsuit in the Nashville Federal District Court, seeking a permanent injunction against enforcement of that law. Within 3 days of his filing suit, a bill for repeal of the Butler Act had passed both houses of the Tennessee legislature and was signed into law on May 18th of 1967 by Governor Buford Ellington. A 2014 Gallup poll found that 42% of Americans believe humans were created by God 10,000 years ago. A further 31% believe in evolution, but under God's guidance. Only 19% believe God had nothing at all to do with it. Please vote every chance you get. Don't waste your time trying to change the minds of folks who vote for the opposition. Instead, spend your energy convincing the folks who didn't vote at all to get on their feet. Thanks for listening. Be kind, do good work, and until next time.